Well, COVIDSafe has been with us for nearly a week. It was released last Sunday, and just over 3 million people have downloaded the app. It's a contact tracing app. So if your phone has a Bluetooth handshake with another device 15 times in a row, so that's once per minute, you both go into each other's databases. It's all encrypted on your device. So nothing leaves your device. It's all stays on your phone until you either test positive to coronavirus and you can upload that information, or it simply deletes the data on its own every 21 days. But there have been a few issues, a few teething problems, especially for users with older smartphones. There's been a push by Scott Morrison just yesterday referred to the fact that the more of us that download the app, the sooner we can lift all these restrictions. But the unfortunate thing is that for a vast number of people, that they do have older devices where the app simply won't work. I've had a look at the compatibility of the app and found that if you are using an Android device, if you have a device running Android 6 or later, so we're talking a 5-year-old phone, it will work okay. So if you're running Android 5, unfortunately, you're out of luck. You probably need to buy a new device to run the app. iPhone users, iOS 10 or later, and that means if you're running an iPhone 5S, which is a 6-year-old phone, it will work fine with COVIDSafe. The other thing we need to do, and we need to understand that the app also has to stay open in the background. So I know a lot of people like to clear the apps running, like social media apps, emails, and things like that. But for COVIDSafe to work properly, you need to have it running in the background constantly, so that if someone you come into contact with also has the app, that Bluetooth handshake can take place. And if you do spend more than 15 minutes with that person, then you go into each other's databases.
Obviously, there's a lot of people cautious because of privacy reasons and everything else, but let's just cut to the chase here. Like social media and other things that are on your phone will trace you way more than this will.
Oh, certainly will. The privacy, I think the government's lived up to its privacy and security promises here. They've even changed the biosecurity laws. So the data that's captured by the app is anonymised. It isn't accessible to anyone, only health authorities, and only with your approval if you happen to test positive for the virus. You can't even look at the data on your own phone. So I can't simply browse into the COVIDSafe app and see who I've come into contact with. It's impossible because it's encrypted on my device. It doesn't leave my device until I authorize it to do so if I test positive to the coronavirus. But you're right. There are many more things. Using Google will track you will track you and keep tabs on you much more than COVIDSafe. COVIDSafe does not use location. It's not tracking your location at all.
Yeah, I know that Google and Apple have both provided the government with various bits of data on travel and people looking for directions. What about the NBN? What's the latest there?
Well, the NBN has actually extended its extra capacity period. You cast your mind back a month or so ago, they said they were going to provide 40% extra capacity to their retail service providers, which would in turn pass that on to customers for low-income households that are struggling financially, that have school-aged children, for small and medium businesses as well. Well, the NBN the other day just came up and said that they're going to extend that free period for another 2 months. So it was due to end at the end of May, at the end of this month. They've now increased that added capacity free of charge to the retail service providers, which in turn will get to the customers. They've extended that now to June and July. So no worries about being connected at this time. Whether you're working from home or homeschooling, you'll have that vital connection that you need.
And Apple stores opening again soon?
Yeah, that's right. Apple CEO Tim Cook just a couple of days ago announced in an earnings call that the 21 Australian stores will open in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So they've been shut for quite a while now. They were tentatively scheduled to reopen on March 27, but they rethought that. Obviously, that didn't happen. They said that the customer safety comes first. So they decided to wait. So within a week, we could possibly see Apple stores opening, still adhering, though, to strict social distancing and health precautions. There'll be a limited number of people who could be in the store at the same time. They're even going to conduct temperature checks at the door. to make sure that you don't have an elevated temperature, so you'll be able to come in and shop in the store. And more important, I think people who have issues with their Apple products, they normally head up to the Genius Bar. That's going to be the welcome return for a lot of customers who've had problems, maybe even need to replace screens and things like this, where they'll now be able to make appointments at the Genius Bar once those Apple stores reopen.
Particularly now that they're using them a lot more than they probably were. Finally, what about the shipment of smartphones?
Well, as you can imagine, the COVID crisis has really had a severe impact on smartphones. That a lot of the factories in China were shut down for several weeks, and that really affected output and thereby affected the number of devices that could be shipped around the world. So of the top 10 companies, we've seen a lot of them taking a bit of a hit. Samsung, their shipments in the Q1 dropped 17% year on year, but they still managed to retain their #1 spot. Number 2 was still Huawei, who dropped 17.1% of their shipments. So they managed to cling on to number 2. And Apple, coming in at 3rd, only dropped 12% of their shipments. And not only now is the factories being reopened, but the lockdown still exists around the world, where a lot of the stores and places where you buy your devices are closed. So it's going to have a bit of an effect still moving forward. Also, the cancellation of Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, the show that Juro and I were supposed to attend back in February, that was the venue where a lot of these companies plan their launches and have these events to showcase their new products. That didn't take place, so it really set them all behind as well. So all that's compounded to quite a depressed smartphone market that's seen these shipment rates plummeting. Hopefully in the second half of the year, we'll see them get back to normal levels.
No doubt we will. Stephen Fenech from Tech Guide, we'll talk to you next weekend.